6 years ago, I stood in my own backyard, holding a hose in one hand and a pair of pruning shears in the other, wondering why I was spending every Saturday morning fighting with a flower bed that never once thanked me for the work. That was the moment I made myself a promise as a gardener. From then on, I would only grow flowers that could take care of themselves. Once I started paying attention with that promise in mind, I found the proof of it growing in the last places anyone would expect. A strip of dirt beside a gas station, the edge of a church parking lot, a narrow bed running along a library sidewalk. If flowers can bloom in spots like that, with nobody watering them, nobody deadheading them, nobody babying them along, they can bloom in your yard too, with a fraction of the effort you're pouring into it right this minute. I'm John Sam, and this is Seniors Gardening Advice. And if you like the idea of more flowers and less fuss, you're going to want to stick around for this one, because I'm about to hand you the exact list I built from that walk. Let's talk honestly about why so many flower gardens turn into a second job instead of a joy. It usually starts innocently. Someone falls in love with a plant at the nursery, brings it home, and only later discovers it needs staking, spraying, deadheading twice a week, and a drink every single evening in the summer. Multiply that by a dozen different plants in one bed, each with its own demands, and suddenly, the garden that was supposed to be relaxing has become a chore list longer than the laundry. Add a hot, dry August, a missed vacation watering schedule, or simply a body that isn't as young as it used to be, and that flower bed can go from beautiful to embarrassing in about 10 days flat. None of that means you have a black thumb. It usually just means the plants were never suited to the life you actually live. An easy flower garden works from the opposite direction. Instead of picking flowers because they're pretty in a photo, you pick flowers because they're built for tough love, and then you let their natural toughness do the heavy lifting. These are perennials that come back year after year without replanting, that shrug off a dry spell instead of wilting into a puddle, and that keep blooming for weeks instead of days. The trick isn't some secret fertilizer or a fancy irrigation system. The trick is choosing plants that were basically born for neglect and then arranging them so they support each other instead of competing. Once you see a handful of these thriving in a parking lot with no care whatsoever, you start to realize just how much unnecessary work you've been doing in your own yard. So let's walk through the plants that make up this kind of garden, starting with one of the toughest flowers you can put in the ground. Plant number 1 on this list is the purple coneflower. This is one of those perennials that seems to grow better the less you fuss over it. Give it a spot in full sun with soil that drains well, and it will reward you with sturdy, daisy-like blooms from early summer clear into fall. Once it's finished flowering, coneflower drops seed on its own and quietly fills in the gaps around it. So instead of buying more plants, you end up with volunteers popping up where you least expect them. A quick takeaway here: leave the spent flower heads standing through winter instead of cutting them back in fall. Birds pick at the seed heads, the structure adds interest to a bare winter bed, and you save yourself a chore in the process. From there, it's worth moving on to a plant that behaves almost like a perennial that refuses to quit. The daylily earns its reputation as one of the hardest working flowers in any low-fuss garden. Individual blooms only last a single day, but a mature clump sends up so many flower stalks that you barely notice the ones fading before new ones open. Daylilies multiply on their own. They're simple to divide when a clump gets crowded, and if the foliage starts looking tired after the bloom period, all it takes is cutting the whole plant down close to the ground, and it flushes back out with fresh green leaves in a couple of weeks. Some varieties even carry a light fragrance, which is a pleasant surprise for a flower most people only think of as a workhorse. Sticking with that midsummer stretch of the garden, Black-Eyed Susan deserves a spot on this list for its color alone. That golden yellow shows up right when many spring flowers are winding down, filling in a season that can otherwise feel a little flat. It handles heat and dry stretches without complaint, and it pairs beautifully with the silvery, upright spikes of Russian sage, which we'll get to shortly. A simple design tip worth remembering: group these bold yellow blooms next to something with a cooler color and a different shape, and the contrast alone will make an ordinary bed look intentionally designed. No easy garden is complete without some texture that isn't a flower at all, and that's where ornamental grasses come in. A compact variety like blue fescue brings a steely blue color and a soft, fountain-like shape that moves with every breeze, adding motion to a bed that would otherwise sit still. These grasses ask for almost nothing beyond decent drainage, and a single trim in late winter keeps them looking sharp for the entire next season. Moving into a plant with a bit more drama, Blazing Star, also known by its old-fashioned name Gay Feather, sends up tall purple spikes shaped almost like a bottle brush, right in the thick of summer heat. It thrives in hot, dry conditions, self-seeds readily, and asks for nothing beyond sun and patience. Bees and butterflies gather around it in a way that's genuinely fun to watch from a porch chair. And because it spreads on its own, a single plant today can become a small drift within a few seasons without you lifting a finger. For something with a longer bloom window and a bit of whimsy, balloon flower is worth a serious look. Named for the way its buds puff up like tiny balloons before popping open into star-shaped blooms, this perennial keeps flowering for an unusually long stretch of the summer and asks for almost no maintenance once established. It's an underused plant, and that's honestly part of its charm, since it gives a bed a look that neighbors won't recognize from every other yard on the street. Here's a quick takeaway before moving further into the list. Notice how none of these plants so far have needed daily watering, spraying, or staking. That's not a coincidence. It's the entire philosophy of an easy garden in action. Sedum belongs on this list for a very practical reason. Its thick, waxy leaves store water the way a cactus does, which means it barely notices a dry spell that would wilt a thinner-leaved plant into the ground. It blooms later in the season, often into fall, filling a gap in the calendar when many other perennials have already finished their show. Because the foliage looks attractive even before it flowers, Sedum earns its place in the bed long before the blooms ever open. Yarrow, sometimes sold under the name Achillea, brings soft, almost fern-like foliage in a silvery green, topped with flat clusters of blooms in yellow, white, or soft pink, depending on the variety. It handles poor, dry soil better than most flowers would ever tolerate, and it keeps producing new flower clusters for weeks if you snip off the old ones, though even skipping that step won't set it back much. Coreopsis often gets mistaken for the annual cosmos at first glance, but it's a true perennial with a far longer bloom season and none of the replanting hassle. It produces flower after flower over many weeks, tolerates poor soil without complaint, and fills in nicely at the front of a bed where you want steady color rather than one big dramatic burst. Russian sage deserves its reputation as one of the toughest plants you can grow in full sun and dry soil. Its silvery, upright stems and lavender blue blooms bring height and structure to a bed, and the fragrance released when you brush past it is an unexpected bonus. Paired with the golden tones of Black-Eyed Susan, the color combination looks like something out of a magazine spread, yet neither plant asks for special treatment to get there. Catmint, or Nepeta, brings a soft, minty-scented foliage that most deer and rabbits tend to avoid, which makes it a smart pick if wildlife has been nibbling your other flowers down to nothing. It blooms early and often, pairs beautifully with roses, and after that first flush of purple blooms fades, a quick trim brings on a second round later in the season. Speaking of roses, the knockout rose earns its place on this list precisely because it breaks every stereotype about roses being fussy. This shrub rose handles heat, poor soil, and long dry stretches without the spraying and coddling that traditional roses demand. One yearly pruning is typically all it needs, and in return it produces flush after flush of blooms from late spring through the first frost. Rounding out the list, Panicle Hydrangea deserves a mention for anyone who assumed hydrangeas were too high maintenance for this kind of garden. Unlike their shade-loving, water-hungry cousins, panicle types tolerate more sun and handle dry spells with far more grace. A single pruning each year, done in late winter, keeps the shape tidy, and the blooms often last for months, gradually shifting color as the season moves along. With that list in hand, the next question is how to actually arrange these plants so the whole bed looks pulled together rather than scattered. A simple approach that works in almost any yard is to think in layers by height and bloom time. Put the taller Russian sage and ornamental grasses toward the back or center of a bed. Let Black-Eyed Susan and Coneflower fill the middle ground with steady color through summer, and let Catmint or Coreopsis spill toward the front edge where they soften the transition to the lawn or path. Layering bloom times matters just as much as layering height. If you mix an early bloomer like Catmint with a midsummer performer like Coneflower and a late-season standout like Sedum, you end up with a bed that has something happening in it from spring through the first frost, instead of one dramatic month followed by weeks of green nothing. And don't overlook color pairing as a free design tool. Purple and gold, seen in Russian sage next to black-eyed Susan, or in Catmint next to a yellow Daylily, reads as intentional and polished even in a bed you planted almost at random. Now for the maintenance side of things, and here's some good news. Because every plant on this list was chosen for toughness, the care routine for the entire bed can be summarized in just a few simple habits, rather than a separate routine for each plant. Water deeply but infrequently, especially in the first year while roots are still establishing themselves. After that, most of these perennials only need supplemental water during an unusually long dry stretch. Skip daily light sprinkling altogether, since it actually encourages shallow, weak roots instead of the deep root systems that make these plants so resilient in the first place. For pruning, shrubs like the knockout rose and Panicle Hydrangea only need one significant cutback a year, typically in late winter before new growth starts, while most of the perennial flowers can simply be left standing through the colder months for winter interest and cut back once in early spring. Every 3 to 4 years, clumps of daylilies, coneflower, or blazing star may start looking crowded in the center, and that's your cue to divide them, which is really just free plants for another corner of the yard or for a neighbor. A 2 to 3 inch layer of mulch across the whole bed does more work than almost anything else you can do, since it holds moisture in the soil, blocks weed seeds from sprouting, and slowly breaks down to feed the soil over time. So here's what all of this really comes down to. An easy flower garden isn't about finding a shortcut or skipping the work that gardening requires. It's about putting your effort into the one decision that actually matters: which plant goes in the ground, so that everything after that decision takes care of itself. Choose plants built for heat, drought, and neglect. Group them by height and bloom time instead of by impulse, and give the whole bed water, mulch, and one yearly pruning instead of constant attention, and you'll end up with a garden that looks like it took a professional crew to design, when really, it just took the right list. If any of these plants sound like a fit for a bare, sunny corner of your yard, or for a bed you've been meaning to redo for a couple of seasons now, try starting with just 3 or 4 from this list, rather than all of them at once. Give them a season to settle in, and notice how much less time you're spending with a hose and a pair of shears by comparison. If this kind of practical, no-nonsense approach to gardening is useful to you, subscribing to this channel means you won't miss the follow-up video, where we'll walk through building an entire low-care garden bed from scratch, layer by layer. And if you've had good luck with a tough, drought-tolerant flower that didn't make this list, drop it in the comments, since some of the best plants in my own garden came from suggestions just like that. Until our next walk through the garden, may your flower beds ask less of you and give more back in return. This has been John Sam for Seniors Gardening Advice.